Hi, Irma. It's Karen Huie. Long time no see. The last time I saw you, well, one of the first times I think we really hung out together was when we had to go to Orange County to do one or two of my plays that had to do with Indo-Chinese assimilation in the LA Unified College District. And you and I went down there first to scout out the situation and to book a motel where we could all go to stay because we had to perform like 8:30 the next morning or something. Josie Pepito was in that play. So we went down there and we stopped at this coffee shop and we were talking and looking around. There were hardly anybody in the coffee shop and we were talking and all of a sudden we looked around and you were like, hey, how come nobody's serving us? And then I called somebody over and she came over reluctantly and she was really surly. And then I was like, I think they didn't want to serve us. But we were like, whatever, so we ate. And then when we went to the school, the principal came and introduced himself and I went to shake his hand and he just stood there. He just froze. He wouldn't take my hand. I was like, oh, okay, I see where we are now. But anyway, the play was really successful. And I don't know if you remember, like during one of the rehearsals, when we had to do it somewhere else, it might have been down there, we rehearsed in this space where it was going to be. And they said we were going to have the stage and everything. And then all of a sudden, there was this whole rear projection screen. And we were like, so how do we move that screen out of the way? And they were like, that doesn't move. That stays there. That's a rear projection screen. We were like, what the hell? And, I vaguely recall, maybe it was like Ricky Momi or somebody like that who was doing the sound. And like when we put the actors behind the screen, the rear projection screen, like we couldn't hear them, they couldn't hear us, and we just saw their silhouettes. So I think it was Ricky, he said, I could set up speakers back there. So he did. He brought up his home speakers, and he put the speakers in front so that we could hear the actors back there and vice versa. Anyway, we finally pulled it off. And the irony is, ever since then, that play was known as the shadow play. And they were like, how did you think of that? How did you think of putting the actors back there? And then I had to tell the whole story of this rear projection screen. And you were like, don't tell them that, man. Just tell them that's the way it's supposed to be. So that was really awesome. And then we lost track. And I think the next time I saw you, we were doing Songs of Harmony at East West Players when it was on Santa Monica Boulevard. And, oh my gosh, I'll never forget this. Tom Donaldson and I were together at that time. He built the set. I spent every waking moment rewriting that play or at the theater rehearsing, and he built the set. And so then it opened and everything went great. And then the following week he said, aren't we going down to see the show? And I was like, what? No, why? No, can't we just take a break? And he said, let's just go down there and see if they're laughing. And I said, they're supposed to be laughing. I wrote a comedy. That's my job. And he was like, let's just go down there. And if they're not laughing, we can go to dinner. And I was like, okay, fine. So we went down there. We were in the booth, looked down, and they were laughing. And I said, okay, they're laughing. Can we go to dinner? And then he was like, how can you take this for granted? Any writer in Hollywood would give their right arm to make people laugh like this, and you're taking it for granted. And I said, but that was my job. I'm supposed to make people laugh. And later on, he took me to see Sullivan's Travels, which was basically about this Depression-era Hollywood comedy writer who said, I want to write something serious. I'm going to go across the country and experience what men and women are experiencing and come back and write a drama. So anyway, by a twist of circumstances, he ends up in jail. And he was like, no, I'm really a Hollywood writer. And they were like, yeah, sure you are. And so then finally, the only thing that the prisoners could look forward to was on Saturday mornings, they could watch cartoons. So from East West Players, Songs of Harmony, CBS and Castle Rock came to see the play and offered me a sitcom pilot deal because Tom wouldn't stop bugging me, and he told me to write to TV producers to see it. Anyway, then I got the sitcom pilot deal, and then we broke up. And I was at Castle Rock and CBS the same time that Jerry Seinfeld was, who did Seinfeld. I got more money than he did because they had to pay for the rights to my play as well as pay me to write it. So I got $30,000 and he got $13,500, I think. Anyway, mine didn't get made, and he went on to make a career. So then that happened, and then for a while they were interested in me trying to write for TV, for episodic, and I find I wasn't very good at that. I was much better at creating original content, so I didn't do that. And then I rooted around for a while, and I ended up doing voiceovers because they needed Chinese language speakers. So I ended up going in to do that, to do looping on a lot of TV shows. Most recently, I did the last 5 Star Wars. I did Moana, and I did probably at least 1,500 shows. So that took up a lot of time. And Yuki Nakamura once said to me that Mako used to ask, you know, because he would see me occasionally, but they would never see me at auditions or on TV or in films or even on stage that much. So Yuki said, Mako used to ask, what does she do? And so nobody really knew because I did voiceovers and that wasn't a visible thing. But I made a good living and I made a career. I did the last 5 Star Wars. And then when I was doing Deadpool, there was a woman at the end of the day who identified herself as an agent. And she said, I've been watching you all day and I want to sign you. And I was like, no, I've stopped working on camera. I just do voiceovers because, you know, like I'm often working and I can't go to auditions or callbacks. And she insisted, so I ended up signing with her probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and I've done 35 shows since. So I guess she knew what she was looking at. I was like, why are you going after me? But I remember there was this one show I did called Disjointed. I went in to read for it with Elizabeth Sung, and they said, oh, you know, she should read for the acupuncturist, the herbalist, because she looks like Kathy Bates. And I went, you think I look like Kathy Bates? And then they both like looked at me, and I said, I'm sorry, I've just never heard that before. So they cast me because in the storyline, the actress has this flashback of this herbalist, and now she works for this pot dispensary that's run by Kathy Bates, which is the reason why. So when I worked on the show, I was able to get a picture with Kathy, and this is it. And I don't know if you can see, but some people can see it and other people can't, that they do think that I look like Kathy Bates. So I was like, wow, that's not a bad person to look like, to be the Asian American Kathy Bates. Yeah, so since then, and then I've gone back to writing plays, which I really love. I wrote a play about Akira Kurosawa that is going to have a couple of readings that are coming up. And then I got hired to write a book for a musical about Angel Island up in San Francisco, where a lot of immigrants, mostly Chinese men, had to go through. What else did I write recently? Oh, I wrote a play called Return from Gold Mountain, which is about my great-great-great-grandfather who went to New York in the late 1870s and then fell in love with a white woman, and after 20 years returned to China with her. So yeah, I have that play. So recently I've gone back to writing plays, and I'm still, you can see this is my recording booth. I don't know if you can see my microphone up there. That's what I record on. So I do some audiobooks, and I do the sponsorship spots for KCRW every Monday, and I do my auditions, of course, from my booth. And that's it. That's the life of Karen Huie. Anyway, Irma, I miss you. You're awesome. You're the greatest. I wish I could hear you laugh. I hope you're laughing now, and hope to see you soon. Love you. Bye.